Jesus freak here. Sometimes I have to come outside to do stuff because it's just, you know, living on the third floor of a building where, you know, it's not kept as well as it could be. And insulation, it gets hot up there. Air conditioning only helps so much. So, exactly what's the point of me coming out and talking about that? This NASB95 that was bought for me is the point. You see, it's a large print edition. I'm standing out here about, let's see, maybe 25 feet or so from any source of light other than my phone. It's not exactly easy, but this Bible is actually I can actually read it, even under this limited light. Now, there are other editions that are better for that. Thing is, I do one set of readings each week with the KJV, one set with the NASB. 95, of course, because they got issues with what they did in the more recent revision. Now, do I have Bibles that are easier to read than this? Yes, I do. This 1960s Cameo is, in fact, easier for me to read because it's bold. I think the print is about technically the same size, but it's wider. But this is adequate for the low light. Now, a lot of the churches I've been to, their light is pretty dim too. You know, my current church, you know, the light isn't all that bright during the service either. It's brighter than this, but it's one where, you know, if you're trying to read from a Royal Ruby, you're going to have some trouble. Unmodified look at this. See it exactly as it is. Coloring is phone's trying to compensate. So, you know, if I want to read out here this late at night, that's an option I have. Now, I will point out some things here, you know. Surprisingly, this NASB was printed in the U.S. You think, most of your publishers are outsourcing to China. This is published by Lockman themselves, and it's printed in the U.S. So now this is pretty much bare bones. You got your copyright information and preface. And it goes right from the table of contents into the Old Testament. And while you do have, your footnotes at the bottom of the page, they're minimal. There's no references. Oh yeah, it's verse by verse. You'll find NASBs in both formats. This one happens to be verse by verse. So you go from the Old Testament with a blank page directly into the New. And it looks like we're black letter, which is good. Now, there are a couple things in the back. Some blank paper, table of parables. I'm just glossing quickly over this. Table of miracles, table of fulfilled prophecies. Table of Jesus' genealogy. It uses the hypothesis that Matthew's giving Joseph's genealogy and Luke is giving Mary's. There's nothing that actually says that. So take that as you will. It's a common way to smooth over the problem, but there's nothing that actually says that. There's a where to find help, and then there's messianic titles, names of the apostles, one-year reading plan. Not sure how it rates against Trinitarian's 2-year plan. There are some maps in the back. They're printed on normal paper. Actually, some of them are on normal paper, and then it looks like... No, they're normal paper. And they're black and white. I was, getting confused by the fact that the last couple pages are cardstock. Now, what I call large, what they call large print, I'd call the normal size. It's still pretty small. And that's an unfortunate fact of the matter for a lot of Bibles, with perhaps the exception of modern Holman, Nelson, Zondervan. that use 2K Denmark for the typesetting. And clearly, Lockman didn't do that. But then again, this was, although this is a 2022 printing, which of course is saying, they're keeping the 95 in print, even though they have the 2020 that was originally supposed to supplant it. I'm glad. But this was published in 2001. This was before the whole big premium Bible craze with the 2K Denmark and all that. Anyway, Jesus freak out.